In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at the use of scene triggers in AI to understand how they can help you run your show more smoothly. First of all, let's think about what a scene trigger is. So a scene trigger is quite like a cue on a console. It's a snapshot of values at a given point in time and can help you to recall the media that's on the layers, the layer parameters, effects, and even your output configuration. Okay, so first of all, let's set up a look on our layers. So I'm going to bring that clip in there. Maybe let's scale it down a little bit and put him to the top left. Okay, so that's great. So let's say that I really like that layout and I want to save it. So when I press the tab button, we see an icon like a sun appear. Now what I'm going to do before I make a second one and I start to play with it, let me just get this set up. We'll just change what's happening with our layers here a bit. So let's bring him back down. Let's put him on the bottom right this time. So I'm just adjusting my layer parameters. There we go. Then on that other fourth layer, let's put a different piece of media in the background, like so. Then if we press the tab button again, we save another scene trigger. Now if I click on that first scene trigger, we'll see that it will recall the positions of my layers, the scaling, all that kind of stuff, and the media as well. So clicking on that second one will obviously take me to that second layout. Now what we've done there is the most basic type of scene trigger. It's just remembered everything. Now if we right click on a scene trigger, we can see the parameters that it actually stores. So it's all of your layer parameters, your effects parameters, the colorization section here at the top and the blend modes, and just down here on the right, in the middle, sorry, we've got fixture parameters. So that's how your screen is set up, the resolution, the model in use, the positioning of that screen. And the output configuration is how you are addressing your outputs via the output page. Now obviously you can come in and you can enable or disable some of these different functions. Now what I'm going to do, I've actually got some that I've made in advance and I'm going to show those to you just to give you an idea of some of the things we've got available to us. So let me just change those up a little bit. Let me just reset that top layer. There we go. Okay, so if we go to my effects presets bank that I've made here, so we can see here there are lots of different scene triggers that I've made previously, and I've kind of split them here into three sections. So the top one allows us to change color. The second one I've set up allows us to control layer positions, and specifically I've set them up to be picture in pictures. And the bottom section is to turn effects on and off. So let's, just before we do anything, let's just see what they do. So obviously if I click on red, then we're going to get a red hue, blue, yellow, cyan, magenta, and a clear. Then if we go to the second row, that's our picture-in-picture row. So if I click on that one, the first one, you'll see that my top layer has become a picture-in-picture with this nice border around it. And then I've got some different picture-in-picture positioning there. What I'm going to do, in fact, I'm going to just put a different piece of video. There we go, so we can see that picture-in-picture a little bit easier. So then if I cycle through those picture-in-pictures, you can see what's going on there. And again, I've put a reset one there at the end just to reset the layer to how it was. And then at the bottom I've made some effects presets as well. So for instance, if I hit on collide, it's going to give us a kaleidoscope. We've got a dot version, we've got this one repeats 3 times, splitting the RGB, posterizing, kind of multi-toned look, and a no effects button. So let's just have a quick look at those different types of preset. If I right click on one of the color ones, so we'll see that basically I've disabled everything in this scene trigger except for the one next to the color swatch here. So I can now come in and I can edit that if I want, and whatever I leave that value at, when I next trigger that scene trigger, it's going to trigger that parameter. So if we have a look at the other ones, for instance the picture-in-picture ones, so here we can see that I've got my layer positioning, scaling, that kind of stuff, my layer properties, they're enabled. I've enabled my aspect mode on this as well, and I've put it to letterbox. When you are normally playing a video on the layer, it will crop to the size of the screen, but I felt that in the case of live inputs, I would want to respect the original aspect ratio of the live input, so I've left that one on letterbox. And I used an effect on these ones to create that border around the edge. If I scroll that down a little bit, we can see that white border around the edge of my picture-in-picture there. That's done by this border RGB, which is one of the standard video effects in AI. So I've got those parameters enabled as well. Then last but not least, if we take a quick look at one of the effects, so let's throw the kaleidoscope on there. And so here we can see that we've only got this first effects engine is enabled and everything else is disabled on the layer. You can drag and drop your scene triggers into new banks as well. When you create them, in the distrib folder there is a banks folder, and inside that folder is a scene triggers folder where they are stored, so you can bring them in as and when you need.